All right.
The only thing is I put my coffee cup somewhere. That's the only thing about a house. There's more space. I
Yeah,
put my
right.
coffee cup somewhere
Well, it's so
and I
funny
don't know where I
because
put it.
traveling in the van, it's like you think that because it's such a small space, you'd be able to find things easier. I've lost stuff in the van. I'm like, how do I lose stuff in this small space? Like, you think it would just be right there.
Yeah, well, you set things down. So I have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and I was actually doing a video on how this is now. This place is like an art studio. It's my dad's part-time art studio. He doesn't live here, but he paints here 3-4 hours a day. So it's like living in an art studio. I've got paintings. Every single wall in this place is paintings, but which is kind of cool because I consider myself a video artist. So it lends to that vibe. But I did set my cup of coffee down, and I'm tempted to go take a quick.
Go ahead if you want to go grab it. I'm gonna pull up a little screen share since
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
talking
do that.
about
It'll take
video.
me a minute. Hopefully, I find it. It's got to be here somewhere. I'll be
Yeah,
right back.
go grab your coffee and I'll take it from here. So yes, Doug's going to
Oh,
get his
by
coffee.
the way, Michael, I
Yeah,
can still talk. I'm just not in camera. So go ahead.
that's pretty cool. It's kind of
Yeah, I'm in the
freaky
kitchen.
actually.
Yeah, yeah. This Bluetooth has something like, I don't know, 300 feet radius. So keep
Oh,
talking. If you
nice.
have anything you want me to say, I'm here. I'm just gonna find my coffee
Yeah, no, I mean,
cup.
I'll leave the screen share up here.
I
Uh,
found it. I found it, brother.
Perfect. I
I
love
got
it.
it.
Yeah, so
I'm back.
basically, I just wanted to go over a couple of the achievements that we got notified of this week. 50 uploads. So congratulations on 50 uploads and 1,500 views on the channel. I mean, we've just gotten this thing going, so it's pretty cool to see some achievements come along of progress moving forward. Uploads. It's important, whatever you're doing. If you're doing video and you're uploading video to YouTube, to have a consistent process to it, and that's what we're doing here with Driving to Tokyo and with Doug's story and travel and trucking. And if you're new to the channel, just head back in and watch some of the earlier videos so you can kind of get a taste for what this is all about. I just want to say congratulations, Doug. Keep up the great work as far as creating videos go and just doing things different. You recently went on a little trip, so we've got some good video that's going to be coming out early this week of your trip to Encinitas. So that's something that's coming up. Lots of great video there. And yeah, I'm loving it. Do you want to jump into anything? We were kind of talking before we recorded. I don't know if you want to jump into anything.
Oh,
If you have something
is
that you
it
want to.
recording now, or is it
Yeah,
not recording?
it's recording. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, I like to talk about the Encinitas stuff because I've sent you already like a few videos. Poor guy, he wants to do one or two a day, and I've been sending like 3 or 4 or 5. So I don't mean to overload you. It's like you
No,
get to them while you can.
that's
I
perfect.
just I'm just doing. I think you can have never. I think it's better to have more content. Too much content than not enough content. So but let me talk about, because it's a little along the lines of throwback, but it's a little bit, it does fit in with the Driving to Tokyo. And unless I make the videos and explain the significance of it, some people that are watching this channel might think, okay, what is driving to Tokyo? I thought this was about Tokyo. I thought this was about truck driving, you know? And so what you'll find when you tune in, like Mike said, to go back and watch some of the earlier videos. What I'm trying to do now, and I'm not a novice at this, I'm trying to do my videos with some degree of intentionality, almost like an ebook or documentary or something, that if you pick up the video like today or tomorrow, you'll get a sense. It's kind of like a train stopping at a station and then it's moving on. But if you want to find out where that train has been, where we were earlier, you can just go back to some of our earlier videos and go back as far as you want, even to the very beginning. Like let's use the analogy of a book. Okay, I used to love reading, and I used to go to the tablet cover bookstore, and what I do is grab like 5 books and speed read through them, through consciousness, Buddhism, all kinds of. I've been doing personal development stuff for like 40 years. But what I would do related to this channel, I would just read the table of contents to get a sense of the book, but then I would just open it up somewhere and just start reading somewhere. It might be chapter 10, to see if something in this book would speak to me, Okay, if it did, I then would buy the book and go back and start at the beginning. Okay, so this channel is very similar. We want every video, well, hopefully if you're brand new to this channel, you're watching, you could be watching this today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, that something that we say or share piques your curiosity at least, that you want to subscribe and like and continue, okay? So with the Encinitas chapter, Encinitas, California is a, if probably you haven't been there, maybe even know where it is. It's about 35, 40 miles north of San Diego, right on the ocean. It's a sleepy little surfer town that most people on the planet probably don't even know about it, but it's basically the surf capital of the world. It's like the closest thing to Hawaii on the mainland. It just surfing people, the guys there, I don't care what they do for a living, surfing is their passion. Like if you go down to the beach, there's like 50, 75, 100 guys surfing, and you see surfboards everywhere, and it's like their thing. The second thing is meditation and metaphysics and philosophy. There's an ashram there called the Self-Realization Fellowship Ashram. It's really famous. On one of my Facebook posts, if you, and I recommend along with the channel, you check out my Facebook post. Go just type in Doug Wirma, search, friend me there, and you'll see posts that are related to what we're doing here. So I did a post about George Harrison. Some of you may be so young that you may not even know who George Harrison is, but he was one of the Beatles, and I'm bringing him up. It's connected to Encinitas. By the way, there's a connection with everything, even though it may not seem connected. So George Harrison was one of the Beatles, and the Beatles were, you know, I know them because I'm almost 68 years old. They were one of the most successful rock bands in the previous century. And George Harrison was one of the Beatles that took a liking. He was very successful in his early 20s, and he made lots of money, but he wanted something more. So he started getting involved with meditation and Eastern philosophy and stuff. But one of the things he stumbled on was this book called Autobiography of a Yogi. And so on my Facebook post, I have a whole post about him talking about Autobiography of a Yogi and how it influenced his life. He would give them away at concerts. He'd give in his house. He had stacks and stacks and stacks of them. But the reason I'm bringing it up, the Self-Realization Fellowship Ashram is in Encinitas, where Yogananda lived, the author of Autobiography of a Yogi. And so George Harrison was probably in and out of there when I was living there. I just probably didn't see him. There's another guy named Ravi Shankar. He's a famous Indian musician. He's passed away, but he taught George how to play the sitar. And anyway, there's a lot of that history there, but I have my own personal history. I started meditating there in my early 20, I was age 24, and I lived there like, I don't know, I left when I was 37. So I go back there to go back to my roots and remind myself where I've come from. And the cool thing about it is I live in Arizona in the desert between Phoenix and Tucson. And just Thursday, I jumped in my car and I said, I'm just gonna go. I gotta go. I gotta go to Encinitas. I took some extra time and I drove there, and it's about a 7-hour drive. So I can leave like 3 in the morning and I can be there at 10 a.m. And when I go, I'm always happy that I'm gone because it taps me into my source. It taps me into that zone that, you know, that those early days when I was like 24, 25. And I'm one of my best friends, his name is Richard. He lives there. He's had the same apartment for like 35 years. So that's what I just did. I left on Thursday. I got there Thursday night. I was there Friday all day. And I literally drove back yesterday morning. I got back home yesterday afternoon, and now we're into Sunday. So that's going to be Encinitas. The point is with all of this, Encinitas is going to be part of our channel because that's also where I go when I fly to Japan. I always fly out of San Diego, Japan Air, and I always go to Richard's apartment before I go to Japan. And when I come back, I go back to Encinitas. It's kind of like my homeland. It's like Japan's my homeland and Encinitas is that. So that's why I went there. I almost didn't go, Mike. I almost didn't go, but I thought I've got to do something other than just taking videos in the truck or just my house. I wanted to add that to the equation. Does that make sense, or
Yeah,
is that
totally.
too much information?
No, I think that's perfect. And, you know, I'm glad you went out there because when you're building a channel or when you're creating something, some branding around, who you are, what you want to do, like what we're doing with this channel, it's important to, share places that inspire you, places that you've been, how did you get to where you are? Where were you? Where are you? Where are you going? Type thing. And with this channel and with this story, it's the story from the eyes of Doug. It's his story, and for the viewer, it can translate into any kind of story. So maybe you're out there right now, and you have a great life story that you want to share. Well, how do you even start to do that? You really want to just kind of go into a little process of where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. You can really inspire people, and that's really what this channel is also about. Is the inspiration level, not to say, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. No, it's to say, hey, here's a person, Doug Wierma, who was down and out at a certain point in his life and was able to turn his life around through trucking. And then he discovered travel to Japan, and the flower just opened up from there. So it doesn't have to be Japan. It doesn't have to be trucking. This is just a channel that's sharing a simple way that you can actually turn your life around, have some fun, make some money, travel, see the things that you want to see. And I can't wait for the Encinitas videos to come out, because it's cool to show that angle of your life. There are friends that you've met from years ago that have helped you out, and you've created a bond with them that still lasts to this day, and you can even go and see them. Some people don't have that ability to do that. So it's great that you've been able to keep touch with people, and have this little home space in Encinitas that you can kind of go and re-explore, re-tap into who you were maybe at that point where you were getting into meditation, getting into mindfulness. I think it's important to go back to your roots sometimes to see, hey, I came from this. Look at this. Last time I was here, or whatever years ago I was here, and I was down and out. Now I come back on my own terms. I've got money in the bank. I've got a car. I'm driving out here, and here we go. So I think that's an inspirational story to share with people, because people right now could be in a hard time. You might be facing struggles with an income, or with getting out of debt, or maybe you want to do more traveling. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, Mike, let me piggyback off that.
Yeah.
I love the way you're an excellent facilitator and host, and you're a great
Thank you.
addition to Zoom, because I know you're mindfully listening, but you hit some things, the nail on the head. When I was 12 years ago, you said I was down, and I was 55 years old. I literally had no car, no job, I had zero money. And Richard was a friend that said, you can come out and sleep on my couch till you figure out what you want to do next. He was that kind of friend. And I even had one of his roommates that told me I was a loser. I was 50 something years old and a loser. So here's the thing I want to bring up. Your circumstances don't reveal who you are on a certain level. You don't have to be restricted. You don't have to say, I'm a loser, I'm sleeping on my friend's couch, I have no money. I'd go down the coffee shop with change. The only thing I could buy was a cup of coffee so I could hook up my laptop to the Wi-Fi. Richard knew me then. Okay, and what I'm saying, he allowed me to be in that space to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And it was then I discovered, the best option for me in those circumstances was truck driving. But my point is, I made the decision not as a career at that point. I made it this thinking, look, I'm gonna not have to have a car. I'm gonna have income. I'm gonna get some type of training that will be legitimate training, and maybe this is a way to get back on my feet. That was my initial thought on it. So like Mike was saying, this isn't so much about truck driving. This is about, if you find, in fact, that's who my niche, I'm putting out to the universe. I want to attract people that may be in the same place that I was, to help facilitate and help them get out. And it doesn't have to be through truck driving. A lot of it's mindset. A lot of it's just drawing a line in the sand and saying, okay, I'm here, but I don't have to stay here. Okay, I don't have to be a victim of the circumstances. I can turn my life around and reinvent myself, but it's going to take hard work. It's going to take focus. It's going to take intentionality. There's no free lunch. So that's what I did. I put my head down. I did teams with the company called CRST prior to night, and I traveled 5,000 miles a week. When the truck was moving, my partner was driving, I was sleeping in the truck, and while I was moving, I took my 10-hour breaks. We never stopped. I traveled 20,000 miles a month for 3 solid years, coast to coast, working myself out of it. But then I discovered, Mike, that I loved it. It started as just a way out, but now it's turned into, I've been doing it 12 years now. And I believe no matter what circumstances it may not be trucking, but just try to figure out something to where, a simple thing to do is just identify where you are, like Mike said. In fact, there was a course called Technologies for Creating. One of the things was, first thing, be really real about yourself. Where am I emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially? Where am I right now? Don't sugarcoat it. Get a firm grasp of that, because you can't really go anywhere until you know where you are. If Mike, I don't even know where Mike is right now, but if for example, the analogy I could use is if I asked Mike, can you tell me how to get to where you are? He would probably tell me where you are so I can tell you how to get here, you know? So you have to know where your starting point is. The second thing is you have to look at the end point. Look at, where do I want to go? Take away all the circumstances, everything that's going on. What's the end game here? What is it? And it might be just like when you're starting out from ground zero like me, it was like, okay, where I'm going is I want to feel some stability again. I want to get a cell phone. I want to feel like I have some structure. I want to feel like I have some income. I want to feel like I'm getting back on my feet, like I've got this. You can set short-term goals, but then you can have longer-term goals that's the end game. And what I found, Mike, and you can piggyback off of this, once you take action, massive action, you start taking action, and you know where you are, where you're going, kind of some milestones along the way, what'll happen is you'll get the resources, you'll get the insights, your self-esteem will start to change. People will see you change, and you will begin to work yourself out of that situation, just like I did.
Yeah, that's powerful. You hit a lot of great points with that, and had me thinking a lot too, because at some point in our lives, like when we want to do something different, and I'm sure Doug, you can elaborate a little bit too. I'm just speaking from my own point of view. When you want to change your life, there's going to be things that you have to change inside as well as outside. So, the world within and the world without, outside of us, are two of the same things if you think about it. And when you really change that inside world, the outside world starts to reflect that. And when you're at a spot where you're down and out, and maybe you meet some people that are just whatever, someone calling you a loser, it's like that person might just have been there to just spark that little flame under your little bum, so that you can be like, hey, you know what, I'm not a loser, I'm actually really smart, and I can do whatever I want if I really want to. So I think we all get to these points in our lives where we're have a level of comfort, whether that's making money, working and doing that, and then maybe you want to shift out of that or do something else, and it takes a little bit to get back on your feet. We've all been at spaces where you're not at your best, and you've got to be you've got to do better. Maybe you don't have the finances, maybe it's health, maybe it's relationships, whatever it may be. You've got to come to terms with where you are so that you can actually say, hey, I'm not going any lower than this. This is it, the rock bottom essentially. And your rock bottom is wherever you decide it is. If you let it take you even further down, that's on you. If you finally realize, hey, you know what, I got to do something. What can I do? What do I love? What is something that can inspire me to actually go get it? That's the other thing too, is having that fire within you, that excitement about whatever it is, because truck driving might not be for everybody, like you said, Doug. People might not even think about it until they get to the space where they're just down and out, and they're just like, hey, well, truck driving, let me think about that, and what's it take? And then you already kind of did it back in the day, so you kind of have a little perspective on that. So I mean, anyone out there could do it. There are people that are driving truck that you have people that are little small people, tall people, older people, younger people, men, women, whatever. You've got people that are doing it, and that's what I like about it. And when Doug, when I first met you, or when I first learned about your channel and everything that you wanted to do with trucking, and saw some of your videos, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. If you're down and out, and you want to travel and make some money, trucking is perfect. I'm thinking about it like I'm in my mid 30s, and I'm like, hey, if I wanted to, 10 years from now, I could probably, start driving a truck if I wanted to. It could just be an outlet for anybody. So that's the interesting part about, getting into a space where maybe you are down and out, listening to yourself, going with them a little bit, cultivating those feelings of worthiness, and then the ideas come to you, or the friends come to you, like Doug, like having a friend to say, hey, you can hang out here until you get your stuff together or figure out what you want to do. That's a blessing right there. And if you ask me, I think that was like a nice little, plateau for you to kind of say, hey, I'm not going any lower than this right here, but I'm going to figure out where I'm going to go from here. And I think that's a huge point to the story, because so many people have been down and out, or are down and out right now, or in the future may be in that position. So it's a big spectrum of who you are talking to, because people might already have had that experience, or they're going through it right now, or they might be going through it at some point in their life. And I've been in that place too, where you don't know where's my next dollar coming from? How am I going to do this or that? Like what is going on in my life? You know what I mean? And sometimes you need to have that real talk with yourself to get out of it. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, you might feel a little bit of shame and embarrassment, but we all can feel that. That's just a human feeling. So when you realize what's what and what the human condition is, and hey, when we want to go do something special, we're going to have that inside chatter that's like, oh, you can't do that, or it's too much, or how are you going to learn how to do that? Like Doug, with video, it's like you've come a long way. You've actually come into the technology end of video in just this year, so it's like
Oh,
you're getting into
stuff.
technology and doing all this new stuff now, is what I'm saying. You haven't been doing this forever. You did some
No.
editing and video stuff years ago on computers, but the times have completely changed as far as that goes.
Oh, but I want to kind of, if it's okay, Mike, I want to
Yeah.
kind of take things a step further. I want to point out that we talked about being down and out, and yeah, I was that way for a while. Okay, but what I'm getting at is I really feel like with law of attraction, or whatever you want to call it, the universe will reward action. Okay, like, so what happened with I'm gonna talk about my mother and father too, because they're still here. I owe a lot to them. My friend helped me out, but my mother and father did too. So to fast forward a little bit, I got to trucking. And as a truck driver, this is some education, because some people might be watching this. I'm kind of curious about trucking, but how does it work? Tell me how you got out of it. Tell me, just don't talk about you got out of it. Tell me what happened. Make it real. So what happened is, I talked to a recruiter. I could have been Squire. I'm now with Knight, and we have a program called Squire, but it happened to be a CRST recruiter. And basically, the criteria that to get a start, to put my life back together, you just had to verify your employment to show that you can hold down a job. You had to have a clean police record, because they didn't want criminals driving around their trucks. And you had to basically have a clean driving record. 3 basic things that most everybody can qualify. So I said, I'm in. And I said, what do I have to do? And so I happened to be up in Big Bear, California, where my folks have this beautiful mountain home. And my parents supported me. They said, look, you don't have to get an apartment or a house. Just come here for your 4 days off every month. You'll have a place to live, okay, to stay. So my dad would physically drive his truck down to Fontana, where I was based, and I'd drive back. But the point is, I didn't even have a car. He physically picked me up, brought me back to their house. I had 4 days of home cooking. But my point is, my parents are kind of like, they believe in tough love. Like they're not, like, the first time I actually came out here, truth is, I tried to do this once before, and my parents got kind of pissed off at me because they didn't think I was doing enough. So they gave me enough gas money to drive back to Denver, and I lost my car, and I ended up being homeless. They're the kind that are like, okay, dude, if you're not giving it enough, go back to Denver, start all over again. They gave me enough money for gas to go back to Denver, and my car was repoed, and I went through another whole 4 years of trying to rebuild my life. And this was the second time around. Okay, so the point is, with his backstory is, I knew this is it. This is it. My parents knew. So they rewarded me. They saw me put my head down and drive like a maniac. So they respected me. They respected the fact that teams was very, very hard. And now I want to fast forward to today because I worked out of that. That was like years ago. Today, I mentioned on the channel that I saved $37,000 last year. I mentioned that I've gone to Japan 5 times in 2 years, and not just for a few days at a time. I went like a month at a time. I've completely changed my reality now, but it took starting from there and just working really hard. And now this house that I'm in, oh, the other thing is the whole minimalist thing. That there's a whole bunch of things we can get into that I can help someone. I have a whole philosophy. If you haven't seen the movie on YouTube, there's a movie called The Minimalist or something along that lines. It kind of like, I watched it and really, really clicked with me. It's this idea about having stuff in your life that just as a value gives you joy, but all the clutter in your life, get rid of it. You know, get rid of all that stuff. So the beauty of truck driving for me, for a person who likes the minimalist kind of simple lifestyle, I am at a point where pretty much almost everything I have can be put in the truck. Now I just happen to have this home, so I have this studio here because my parents paid cash for this house about 10 years ago. And because of all the hard work I did, they said, you can have this house. It's yours. And they said, but you're going to have to pay the taxes, the insurance, the utilities, the direct TV, as though you own the house. So they gave me this house to help me get back on my feet. But it took 3 years of hard work. And my point, they rewarded my action. They gave me a base. So now I have this house. Guess what? I have a 3-bedroom house. It costs me $100 a month. I have a brand new car I paid cash for. It cost me $100 insurance. So I have a beautiful lifestyle, and I've created this thing that works for me. It costs me $200 a month for my house and my car. But I have a nice new car, I have a house, and I have a job. And I saved $37,000 last year.
And you get
So
to see all different places of the country too. Like you actually get to get paid to travel. I mean, I think that's
yeah, and I'm
huge.
doing what I love. And my whole point with my, I'm not, it's, Mike said, and it's true, I'm not here to talk about my story and myself. I'm saying that you can use my story to inspire you and think to yourself, wow, if he did it, I can do it. I could do it my own way, but I can do it too. And that's the whole thing with this channel. I want to help people. And it doesn't have to be just people down and out, Mike. What I want to point out, there's people that maybe been in the military for a career and they have military retirement income, but they're still in their early 40s and they're thinking, what do I want to do next? And truck driving would be perfect for them, where they have that they're in their post-military career. You know, it can appeal to, there's people that are retired and they don't want to just sit around do nothing. They want to have something to do. So it doesn't have to be just people that are down and out, is my point. It could be people that are looking for something to do as a second career, that they can do for the next 10 or 20 years or whatever. Like in your case, you're 30, like I think 36.
Yep.
It is something, and that's the other thing I wanted to point out, and I'll shut up, that it doesn't have to be a forever thing. It could be something you just do for 5 years. If I saved $37,000 last year, imagine if you have some credit card debt or student loans or something you want to get out of the way, you can do it with this profession. Because if I save, maybe you would save 20,000 or 10,000 or whatever. But the point is, in 5 years, imagine what you could do. Like if 5 times 30,000 is $150,000. Okay, so what would $150,000 mean to you today? And compare, where were you 5 years from now, okay, with your financial situation? So you can look at, you can be really, really super practical about it. And that's what I did with my life. And I can't even tell you how much it's changed my life to go from sleeping on my friend's couch with not a clue what I was going to do down to my change to where I am today. And so this channel here was a perfect way for me to put it out to the universe, instead of just driving a truck by myself and just driving for a few years and leaving the profession and not paying it forward. I wanted to put that energy out into the universe, through the internet.
Definitely. I love what you were saying there. And one thing that really hit home was, 5 years. Think about it. I believe that it does take a good 5 years to really kind of get into the flow of what you're doing. So let's say you have a plan, hey, I want to do this and I'm starting today. Well, I think that, that's the life change, the process it takes to really, get you in the zone, get your mindset going, get the action going, make the mistakes, fail a little bit, then figure it out. And then, now you're set by the end of, 3, 4, 5 years. You've just kind of like, you've built to a next level. And I think that that's an important thing to think about for anybody out there, is that change doesn't happen overnight. It can happen in your mind overnight, and you can start seeing things differently, and taking action every day is really what it's all about. And my thing that I say to people is, hey, what are a few things that you can do each day that's going to lead you to your goal or lead you to your desired outcome? And you take those few things, you do them every day. And let's say you have a day here or a day there where you don't feel like doing a thing. Well, you know what? Pick one of those things to do and just get it done. And that's really what it takes. It takes that consistent action of doing, of thinking, taking action, having that mindset that really puts you in the direction. And this channel isn't all about mindset. However, mindset is a big part to anything that you want to do, whether it's a YouTube channel, a career, getting out of debt, finding the one you want to be with forever, whatever it is that you want to do. It takes a mindset about it. And then it takes, I actually wanted to touch on the minimalist part now. You got me thinking about that, because one of a memory that came up on my Facebook today was from 6 years ago, I think. And Michelle and I were just going through all of our clothes, getting rid of everything that we didn't need, things that we didn't wear anymore, either selling things or donating them. And that's a big part to a life change too. I think that's where, if you want to go do something else or you need to get out of a funk, see all the stuff that you're holding on to, and minimize that to just the stuff that you need. Because Doug, you could probably touch on this too. It feels pretty darn good to know that, hey, all my stuff is in this truck, or all my stuff is in this van, or whatever, camper, or whatever you're doing. Or maybe you have a smaller house and it's just like you have your necessities, you've got everything that you need, and it feels good that you don't have all this clutter in your life. Because you might think of doing some traveling, you might think of changing your career, but it's like, I got all this stuff. I got a house, I've got a garage full of stuff that I don't even know what's in there, or a basement full of this or that. So I think minimalizing and is a big way to kind of relieve some of that stress or that weight that might be bearing down on you. Just the things that we have can do that to us. And I've noticed that firsthand, and it just feels so good to me that I don't have all this stuff hanging around, or a storage locker somewhere with old things in it that I have to go through. I just have things that I need, and if I don't use it or
Yeah,
don't need it, I get rid of it. You could probably touch on that a little bit, or if there's something else you want to jump in on there.
definitely. I want to piggyback, because what I'm trying to do for you, for those of you that may be watching, is go deeper into clarifying what this is about. We're not going to do this with one Zoom, but I want to go a little bit deeper and touch on. I like teaching personal development, but based on real life stories, because I think we all have our stories, and embedded in every one of our life stories, there's lessons, there's ahas, there's awarenesses. Don't think your life is just circumstantial. There's always deeper things going on, but you have to have the awareness and the mindfulness to see them. So I'll give you an example. I never thought I would own a house ever. So when my parents gave me this home, now, to be honest with you, it was a win-win, because they bought 3 homes here, paid cash for them. And if I didn't pay for the expenses here, they would have to pay for the expenses. So they own it, so the house is appreciating, but they gave me a house, so I have this feeling of ownership, of stability. Okay. And what I'm getting at, I had 6 years of coming home 4 days out of the month with a car and stability. Okay. But my point with this is, I found out that was nice to have a house and have it paid for, no mortgage, and feel really kind of empowered and prosperous. And I have a career and I have a job. But I started going to Japan, okay? And I realized I don't really need this. It was a good chapter to go through to feel stability. And just because other people need this, it's kind of the American dream to have a house and a car and, family. But I came back from Japan. My point is, this is how things evolve, how the universe kind of lines up. I came back and told my mom and dad, Dad, I appreciate the house, but to tell you the truth, I'm really getting into this minimalist stuff, but I just want to live out of the truck and travel. And frankly, I love the house, but I don't think I need it anymore. And here's what happened. instead of getting pissed off, they said, why don't we reframe things? We'll sell your dad's art studio down the street. If you're willing to have him move all his paintings in your place, use your house as his studio, we'll let you still stay there, come home for your home time, live there, but we'll pay all the expenses. I'm like, how can I turn that down? I have my house, I have my home, and they said, we want to make it easier for you to go to Japan. You can come here. And then recently, I told them I'd like to start contributing something. And my mom said, well, why don't you contribute $200 a month? And my dad said, that's too much. Just contribute $100 a month and the house is yours. Now, my point is, it evolved through conversation, through working things out towards a win-win. And now I have the same house, but it's $100 a month. My dad has the art studio. I can go to Japan. That's how I'm able to go to Japan. The point is, I was able to take money normally someone would have. Like if you have an apartment like here in Phoenix, apartment's going to cost you probably $1,000 a month or more. So all I was doing every 4 months, instead of paying $1,000 that was going out the window, I was taking that 3,000 or 4,000 and going to Japan. Okay, so you can always move your finances around and reconstruct your life to where it fits where you are at any given time. So it's been an evolution of sorts. And now I'm at a point, I love being free. I love being debt free. I love being able to, with night transportation, I mentioned this important point. I was just telling my friend Freddie, I love my new truck, but I can go in tonight anytime and say, here's my keys. I'm going to go to a casual schedule where I just work a few loads a month. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go to Japan. It's time to go. I'm going to go there. I'm going to work 2 months and go to Japan a month. That's the cycle I'm going to go on. I'm going to work 2 months, go to Japan every 3rd month. I can do it. There's nothing to stop me. And it all comes from just jumping in, working it out, being true to yourself, and just letting things happen and trying to work a kind of a structure that works for you. So back to you.
I love that. We touched on a great point too with, when you get into that stage, like, hey, you're at this point, you got your stuff together and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't really want this house. I want to go here. I want to be able to do this and that. I don't need it. So you kind of evolved into that where, you figured out, hey, I don't need all this stuff. Right. And then now all you did was just ask and say, hey, you know what? I don't really need this. I'm going to go here, do this or that. And then out of that comes a new offer, a new deal for your situation. And this can happen to anybody. Once you start plugging away and get those wheels turning, people, circumstances, and relationships come into your life, and that's when things happen. That's when, you might be in a spot where, you're just at that edge, like, you know what, I want to just like break out and do my own thing or whatever it may be. And, there could be somebody that you're talking to right now, and all you have to do is ask. And what does that mean? What do I have to ask for? Well, it just depends on what you want. Depends on what the connection is. Sometimes it could be like Doug was talking about. It could be a business proposition. It could be something in a relationship. It could be anything. If you get to a certain point, finally you decide, you know what, I'm gonna just ask for it, or hey, I'm gonna just go get this and see what happens. And then when you go and do it, that's when the people and the deals and the circumstances and the plans happen. So that's what I think is really important to remember, is that no matter where you're going in life, if you're just moving forward and going with it, things will just start to show up. People will just start to show up. The finances will start to show up. The ideas will start to flood in. And then you just go from there. You just figure it out as you go, and don't, get too stressed out about the outcome of it. Just know what you want. And sometimes going through it helps you to find out what you want, whether it's a good situation or a not so good situation. Because, Doug, having to go back to Denver and then, kind of restart almost, it's like, that probably wasn't the most exciting thing for you to do, but you went through it and it led you somewhere. It didn't just lead you to a dead end. You were able to kind of, scoop back up and then recycle through and figure something out. So yeah, I think it's all about
Oh, and I love that. I
and
love Denver. I just want to say,
yeah.
sorry for interrupting,
No,
but
you're good.
but I know that you believe in this too. You have to just reframe things. Like whatever you go through, you can look at it in a negative light. or you can look at it in a positive light. Like when I went back to Denver, I love Denver. I still love Denver. We have a terminal there, and I love to go there every opportunity I have. In fact, I want to go back and shoot some film there, like I did with Encinitas, because it's a big part of my life. I ended up living there 18 years. But when I went back, I went back to taxi cab driving and limo driving that I thought I was complete with. So I had 4 more years of that. So I just reframed it. I said, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be in California. I guess I wasn't quite ready, destiny or karma, whatever. I guess I have some more time here. And I regrouped, and I had 4 more years of history that I wouldn't have had, including something we haven't touched upon that I won't go deep into it now. But when I went back, I discovered Nomiya Homerenki Kyo. I went back and ended up being a dishwasher at Taki's restaurant, and getting involved with Buddhism, and wasn't involved with that when I left. So my point is, when you think you're going backwards, you may not be going backwards. You're just kind of resetting and picking up on something that you missed, that you thought you were supposed to go. Like I thought, oh, I'm supposed to go to California now. But the universe is like, no, you're not supposed to go to California now. You're supposed to come back to Denver, and you still have some unfinished business here. Just go with the flow. That's what I'm saying, is you go with the flow. And then 4 years went by, and now I went back to, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results. Well, I went back to California again, this time on a train to live with my folks. The same thing I did before when they sent me back. I did it a second time, but I succeeded this time. Okay. So that's my point, is don't feel like you're going backwards. That's only something you're putting on yourself. Just trust the process. Trust the process. And you may go, so I went back. I'm glad I did. It's no problem. I don't feel like I failed. And I drove a taxi and a limo simultaneously. I did massage, and ultimately my last job there was washing dishes at Taki's restaurant. So that was my verifiable employment, was washing dishes at Taki's restaurant. And that was a catalyst for me coming back to driving a truck, because if I was ultimately really, really super successful there, I probably wouldn't have been open to coming back and trying it again. So you understand what I'm saying, Mike?
Oh, 100%. And I love the point that you made there, because you might think you're going backwards, or you might think you're not where you need to be, or hey, I'm not up to par. I'm this age, or I'm this person, and I'm supposed to be here by now or there by now. And in reality, you're a lot closer to what you actually want if you just realize that. And like you said, being on the road, Doug, I know exactly what you're talking about too. It's like, you might be in a certain part of the country or whatever, and then, for some reason you have to go back to another state, or go back to another area of where you once were, and you're like, why am I going back there? Why? I don't want to go back there. I just want to be here or go there. And if you make it such a big problem, then you're going to just see more problems. If you just take it as it is and say, hey, obviously I've got unfinished business over here. Just like, I love how you said that, because that most likely could be the case. Or maybe you just need to go back to this area to finish up some things, or just experience it for one more time before you move on, or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's your inspiration to go to that next level. Maybe you have to go back before you go forward, and not necessarily back, just to another direction that's going to inspire you to propel you in the next direction. All I'm trying to say is that no matter what happens on the road or in life, it's all about how your perception is of that. And I know that some people watching this might not be into that, or think it's a little hocus pocus or whatever. It's the truth though. Try it. Focus in on what you want. Doug and I are living proof of that, of just like, hey, what do I want? Where do I want to go? What do I see myself? Okay, let me start doing this. Let me start doing that. Let me figure it out. Just like this channel, like it doesn't take like 2 seconds to build a channel. You have to put thought into it. You have to have some ideas. You have to have some struggles. Like last week or a couple weeks ago, we were figuring out our audio thing. Doug had to go through a couple headsets and figure out, hey, we got to get this audio down. This, we got to hear this a little bit better. Well, we figured it out, and here we are today. We're moving on. We got the audio thing figured out. We're doing this, doing that, going forward, and taking the action. Because with YouTube and with anything related to storytelling or connecting with an audience or building a brand, it takes time. It takes consistency, number one, and it takes you coming out of your comfort zone and doing something like, Doug is doing, you're sharing a lot about yourself, you're sharing a lot about your story. There's a lot of times that maybe people would be embarrassed of, and here you are just sharing, hey, somebody called me a loser, I was down and out, I got back up, I did my thing, and here I am today. I did this, I did that. My wounds have healed, and I am in this space now where I can inspire others to do whatever it is that they want, whether it's trucking or traveling or mixture of both, or just enlightening others to the idea of truck driving, because I didn't even think of that ever. I never really thought about truck driving as the way that you're doing it. And I think it's just an aha moment for anybody who's looking for a change up in their life. Maybe you want to see the world a little bit more. Maybe you kind of want to, you want a job, but you don't want to be, dealing with a boss all the time. You want a little bit more freedom. You're kind of a little bit more independent, like we are. We like to kind of be on our own. So it's a great outlet, I think, and it's worth sharing. Trucking is really popular. There are people sitting around playing trucking video games, and people are watching them driving their video game truck, delivering truckloads. And I'm like, hey, you can do that in real life, But it's an interesting process that I think if we give ourselves a little time, allow ourselves to be in that space, we can figure it out. Humans are really powerful beings, and if we give ourselves that credit, amazing things can happen. Whether it's traveling, working on a YouTube channel, or just meeting new people and doing things in a different way. I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibe of this conversation, Doug. What do you think?
Well, I appreciate it, brother. Let me piggyback on what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, I don't want to make it sound like from day one it was just blissful and I was on a cloud. I was depressed for quite a while, because your negative self-talk, that kind of maybe contributed to getting where you are. If you're honest with yourself, it won't just go away automatically. One of my best mentors, Jack Canfield, used to talk about it, and actually Tony Robbins talks about it. He says that you have limiting beliefs that it's like in the back of your mind. It's in your subconscious mind that like when I talked about, I went to be here in California, and then I failed. I went back to Denver and I tried a second time. Okay. My subconscious mind or my limiting beliefs were saying, here you go again. You're such an idiot. Don't you know that you don't do the same thing? You failed before. What happened? What are you doing? What are you thinking? That stuff is there, but the way you work with it is you don't try to pretend it's not there. You just start taking action to get the results so that it has nothing to stand on. For example, when my negative self comes up and says, you're a loser, man, I've saved $37,000 last year, dude. I've got a car I paid cash for, I went just, thank you very much for sharing. Jack Canfield used to say you can kind of tell the names. Thank you, Jack, for sharing. Cancel, sweep it away. Those things come up. The phrase he used was, you can use this technique today. Just when you hear that, go cancel, sweep it away, move on. You just keep moving on. And then what happens is that negative voice doesn't have anything to stand on because it seems ridiculous, because you've had a breakthrough. Okay. So you learn to manage it. It's never going to go completely away. Okay. But you learn to manage it. And that's what I did. But my point is, I was in the grind for quite a while. I just put my head down, and for I don't know how long, I'm grinding. The only way to get out of this mess is to work hard and grind. I wasn't thinking about metaphysics and meditation. I was just thinking about grinding away for quite a while, like the first couple years of driving. That's all. I was just putting my head down and being the best truck driver I could, just doing the very best I could with all the fundamentals of truck driving. I wasn't thinking about this channel. I wasn't thinking about what I'm doing today. I was just grinding. So don't be afraid to just put your head down for a while and grind for a while, because there's no free lunch. I've got to where I am today because I've driven almost 1 million miles, paid miles. I've earned night transportation about $1 million so far. I've become a really good truck driver, a reasonably good truck driver, with a lot, Knight has a lot of respect for me, and I bring a lot of value to the marketplace. But I started out as a truck driver that didn't know anything. So you have to work through, and you have to go through being the grasshopper stage. Now, I'll just say this one last thing, Mike. I'm applying that right now in my video making. When Christine told me she could only watch 2 seconds of my video, and I just felt like I was a real loser, maybe I'm not even supposed to do this, I thought of the two things that helped me through truck driving. Number one, you have to do bad to do good. You have to be really bad at something before you're going to get good. You have to start where you are. And number two, you have to be, repetition's the mother of skill. You have to take massive action. You just have to keep going forward. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm still learning stuff, and there's still a lot of things that you know how to do that I don't know how to do. But I know enough now that I'm making videos, and I'm trying to improve on the videos and improve on the intentionality and the entertainment value and everything. I'm just trying to improve so the next videos may be better than the last video. And you just keep building on that, okay? And if you keep doing that, 6 months from now, you're gonna be in a different place, and 6 months after that, you're gonna be in a different place. So I'm applying a lot of the same things I learned through my story and truck driving into this brand new experience called, driving to Tokyo. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, and I want to just kind of dovetail into that with, people telling you, hey, oh, I can't watch this, or it's, I don't like your video style or whatever. Two things, use that as your motivation to do better, and also think about it as if, hey, not everybody's going to like Doug's videos. I do video too. Not everybody's going to like my videos. I've figured that part out. I'm okay with that. I just need to follow my passion of the video that I want to make. And sometimes it's not about making video for other people. It's about making that project, bringing that feeling out of you and putting it into the video world in your own way. And nobody else is going to do it for you. You can hire people to edit video and do things like that. It's not going to be the same as if you just did it. And yeah, you could do better with video. Of course, we all can do better with video as we grow. You got to start somewhere. And people might like that beginning phase of your video where you're just, or me, where I'm just, hey, I'm a little nervous on camera, I'm brand new. People will like certain videos, and it doesn't have to be, oh, it's perfect sound, it's perfect shot, you framed it just right, it's perfect. No, that doesn't really matter, because there are people out there that just need to hear from you, or they see your style of video, and for them it's something inspiring. That's the beauty and the magic behind all of this. You truly are an artist when it comes to creating video, creating audio, creating whatever you're creating, paintings, anything like that. There is an art behind it, because inside of us something is telling us to, hey, let's make a video about this. Hey, let's put this music here. Let's do a driving scene there. Let's do this and this and this. So there's some internal guidance coming, to light here, so that you will create something. And why is that? Well, because there are other people out there that need to hear from Doug or me or whoever's watching this. There are people out there that need to hear from you specifically. Doesn't matter if they heard it 1,000 times before. Sometimes they just need to see you, see your energy, hear what you have to say, and it just kind of hits them. That, like, it just breaks through all the other noise in their mind, and it just clicks, and they're there. So no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, video or anything else, whatever you're creating, and somebody tells you that it's not good enough, just use it as the fuel to keep you going. Use it as the motivation. Never give up on anything that you're doing, especially if it's something that excites you and gets you into a different zone of creativity. That's what I love about working with Doug here on this channel and building what we're building here, because I see the vision, I see the story, I see what he's talking about. And for me, that's who I want to align with. My point of view is I want to work with people who have a dream and a vision, and maybe they don't have these pieces to the puzzle, but I do, and I can help them do it, and then even teach them how to do it on their own. So hey, someday down the road, you're off doing your own thing. You know what I mean? You're able to do an audio, you're able to upload to YouTube, you're able to do a Zoom, you're able to take a few ideas and just expand on them. And that's really what a collaboration is all about. That's what a team is all about. It's not about having people depend on one another. It's about, hey, you could do this strongly, you do it, and maybe I'll pick it up maybe, maybe you'll teach me a few things about this. Maybe I'll teach you a few things about that. And we all collaborate together to grow, not to stay stagnant, because Doug, I mean, 2 years ago, if you were like, hey, Doug, you're going to be on your phone making iMovie and doing this and that, you'd probably be like, what? No, I don't think so. That's too much, too much technology for me. And then here you are, you're doing it, because you've just done it. And it just takes a few times of doing things to really get that down. Like, I know you just got your MacBook going and you've been doing stuff on your computer. That's another thing, just using your computer a little bit each day is going to get you further to, using it more, or doing this, or using it as an outlet for doing, different kinds of video, and just a different way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's just important to grow, and be okay with failing, because it's just going to lead you to the success. It's going to show you where to go.
Oh, I didn't, I actually posted something on Christine's. She has this thing called Video Legends that I was a part of, and it was all about people who are already doing YouTube, taking it to the next level and giving each other coaching and advice and help. But I realized that the timing of it, there were people that are already much further along than me, and I felt like I needed to catch up a little bit on my own. Not that I was a failure, but I needed to just jump in, and it would serve me better at this point. I'm talking about just the last few months of just focusing on my video making the way I knew how to do it, and that was iMovie right now. And still trying to learn how to do them. There was a fun, so many weird things have happened. There was a guy named Domingo I happened to park next to before I got my Mac, and before I even started, before I even met you. And he happened to park next to me at a shipper. And anyway, long story short, he was with Empower too, and we got to talking, and he was like a guardian angel that just came into my life. He said, dude, you have a story. I told him about driving to Tokyo. I said, you got something. You just got to do X, Y, Z, this and this and this and that. And he was mentoring me. When I bought this Mac Pro, he was actually on the phone with me saying, you got to get one with 1 terabyte. This was almost $2,000. It's the most expensive computer I've ever bought, but he was there coaching me. And when I was at the condo making videos, he was coaching me. And then I got to a certain point, he just disappeared off the face of the planet. I've been texting him, saying, Domingo, you ought to check out my channel, and he hasn't responded. It's almost like maybe he was a figment of my imagination, or maybe a guardian angel that came into my life, because he just took me to a certain level and then he's just disappeared. He's gone. I don't know where he is.
Well, it's funny you
And
say that,
but
guardian angel, because I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, sometimes people come into your life like that, and it might not be like, hey, the way that you figured somebody would tell you
yeah,
something about a video, but hey,
yeah.
they just kind of inspired you, and that's a beautiful piece. I love that
They
part. And
kind
here
of,
you are.
what I'm saying is he gave me the information I needed to believe that there's something here with you driving to Tokyo, and what I needed to do. And he was coaching me and really intent. He was really, really super cool. And now he's not here. I'm cool. Whatever's going on with him, and maybe he'll resurface. But my point is with the story is you'll have people that show up with you and help you get to that next level, whatever that next level is. And they've served their purpose, and maybe they drop off. It's okay. And then you entered. So one person, like one door closes, another opens. It's not like there's a divine energy, what do you call it, God, the universe, whatever, that starts kind of guiding you, kind of opening up things, and you take one step. And I really believe that you get, like, it's like a checkerboard. It's like you move, the universe moves. You take a step, it moves. It's like it wants you to be clear. This is something I learned a long time ago. And I'm sure, Mike, you can relate to this, is the universe is sitting there going, decide what you want. I can't help you until you decide. You have your free will. Make a decision, and when you make the decision, one of my favorite quotes is, when you make the decision, consciousness makes the provision. Okay.
Ooh.
So that's a real powerful one. Listen to this. When you make the decision, consciousness makes the provision. So I decided to do this channel and driving to Tokyo, knowing that I just started using iMovie in May. This is July, you know, And now I made the decision and I'm taking action, and the universe is setting things up, but you have to do your part, and then it keeps setting in motion new opportunities for you, but you have to take action.
I love that you said that, because you're right. You do have to make a decision. And just an example, going off that, living proof, for us, a couple of years ago, figuring out like, hey, we want to do something online. What do we want to do? How do we do it? And I want to be on the road and travel and just be making a living online. That's what I want to do. And like you said, you make that decision, and that's something that we set out. We're like, hey, you know what? By this time, we're gonna hit the road, and that's it. We're gonna be making our everything we do is just gonna be online based, and that's how this is gonna happen. And boom, you make the decision. You say it out loud. You get super clear on it. What would that be like? Feel it, and it will happen. And like, even before you and I got together, Doug, it was funny because I was at a space where it was like, hey, you know what, I'm kind of like right now in between projects, and that's great, because I just finished a big project with somebody earlier this year, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know where this is going to go. And I was just like, hey, it's all good. Things are going to happen when they happen, and let's just move forward. Let me stay in my passion and what I do, and do what I know to just kind of be out there. Because if you're doing something online, you want to share yourself. You want to build your brand that way. Be real, be authentic. So if you just do those little things will open up, whether it's people, circumstances, situations, or anything like that. And there came Doug. We just started talking, and he just shared with me his vision, and told me what he needed, and I was like, I can do that, no problem. So we just started little by little, just chatting, and the door opened up. And it's the same thing. Like, there's Doug being told, hey, you should do this YouTube thing or do this editing iMovie. He does it, and the little steps connect. And then here I am, here we are doing this. And who knows, like 3-6 months from now, a year from now, who knows what the level of people that you'll be working with as far as, your vision and your path goes. You know what I mean? So it's
Well,
really
you hit
important.
something. You hit something, Christine, and I love Christine. I don't have. She was doing tough love, and she's at another level. I mean, she's and when you have teachers, I had a kung fu teacher that same kind of thing. We couldn't go on to the next move until we mastered the move we were on. And full contact kung fu that I did in my early 20s, it's another whole throwback thing I could talk about later, but it taught me a lot about tough love and discipline. And I was in Encinitas. I was driving Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday 45 miles each way to do my kung fu class. I was training 2 hours a day. I became kind of somewhat of a master. I was training Navy SEALs, full contact kung fu. That's another whole chapter of my life. But but what I'm saying is that Christine said, I can only watch 2 seconds of your video, and then you and Michelle watched the same exact video and loved it.
I
And Michelle
actually
was,
went and made a video using a cartoon thing because of your video. It inspired me.
yeah,
I was like, that's so cool. I actually really like that.
yeah. And what I'm saying is, one person says they don't like it, don't ever do it again. You said you liked it, and then you watched the video and said, I'm actually thinking about driving a truck as a result of watching your videos. And I said, that's interesting. And then so that path opened up, and I said, along the lines of, well, that's part of the reason I want to do this, is to inspire people to get involved in truck driving. So, then that you get feedback. My point is, the universe gives you feedback. One person says, I hate it, don't do that. Another person says, I loved it, keep doing what you're doing, don't let other people's opinion. And so you're like, well, I'd rather go in this direction. I don't want to go in the direction of someone that says they hate what I'm doing. Well, maybe I want to be with someone that likes what I'm doing.
Exactly
Not that
right.
not that Christine's a bad person, but I wanted to be with someone that got who I was and what I was doing, versus someone saying, I don't like what you're doing.
Well, and
So that
sometimes we meet
opened up.
those teachers, those teachers that we meet to, yes, they help us to this extent, and then you're meant to move on to other people and other teachers that connect with your vision, and that's what a true collaboration is about. Because if I didn't have a vision for seeing your vision, or if I didn't have the opening within myself to see what you're talking about, then why would we even work together? Why would why would you want to work with anyone that A, doesn't really like your stuff or doesn't see your vision, or B, why wouldn't you want to work with somebody who's right there? Hey, I like your vision, I can see it. You know what, that makes sense. Truck driving, this and that. no brainer. You know, like
Exactly.
that's a
It's not
nice
like trying to
vision.
put
Yeah,
a round peg in a square hole.
exactly.
You're taking the path of least resistance, and you just take it. It comes by way of conversation too. You have to just open up the conversation. And then it's also, like you mentioned, timing, timing with you. If you have the time and space and you're kind of curious and this kind of, it resonates with you, you take it to the next step. You may not know where it's going to be in 3 months or 6 months or 7 months, but it seems like it's the next step.
Right.
And you just take it, and you go with the flow. You go with it. So I want to mention something really important, that awareness I had, and let you know up front, one of the awarenesses I had this last week going to Encinitas. The channel's Driving to Tokyo. Okay, I'm realizing now the Tokyo part, Japan part, needs to be fed. I went to Japan 5 times in 2 years, every 4 months, but I haven't gone now 2 years because of COVID. Okay, so it's like a seesaw. The driving part, the philosophy part, our interaction is going, over here, but the actual time in Japan is wavering. I have old videos and stuff, so I'm beginning to realize I have to entertain the idea of what is it going to take for me to begin going to Japan, like now or in a month,
Can
to
you
start
go,
feeding
or
that.
is there any restrictions? Like,
Yeah.
what's the
Well,
deal
the
with that?
way
Let's just talk about that for a second.
yeah. I found out, and I'm finding out that, and I'm going to do more research. And I actually, the phone was ringing. Is one of my best friends, Freddie, who was encouraging me to do this. He's a cool guy. He's somebody I want to have on the channel for Zoom. But anyway, I had this aha, and my point with all of this, it isn't that you have to go to Japan. It's about awareness of your inner being, your higher intelligence is going to tell you, hey, this is the next step you need to do to take this to the next level. And I began to realize I love my truck. Okay, there's always trade-offs. I love my new Kenworth. I put almost 200,000 miles on it. It served its purpose. It's a tool, but it also is kind of an anchor. It keeps me here because every time I think about turning my truck in and going to Japan, I think I'm giving up my truck. But I'm not thinking in terms of, but I'm also going to Japan. There's a trade-off.
Oh, because would
So
you
to
lose
answer,
your truck if you did that? Is that the case?
yeah,
Oh, you wouldn't
well,
have that truck then.
yeah, well, normally, unless Madeline was super good, and and it's possible that there's ways. I'm real, cool. We've talked about Madeline. She's like she's like manager's manager, and she's real cool, and she's hip to this channel, and she's actually a friend of Facebook now. She may say, Doug, she loves my videos. She say, don't worry about the truck, because she can make the decision. We'll park it for a month. Don't worry about it. You're bringing so much value with these videos and stuff. In fact, we want you to go to Japan so you can videotape Japan, make your story better. We'll support you 100%. Don't worry about giving up your truck. You can, that can happen. It's totally a possibility. But
Exactly.
what I'm getting at is, what I understand is, I think if you go to Japan now, I have 2 vaccines. So if you go to Japan now, if you get a negative test 72 hours before you go, I think there's a possibility I might have to go 14 days of quarantine, where they put you in a hotel, and it's a bummer. You basically have to stay there in the hotel, but you are in Japan. And then after that 14 days, you're free to go for 3 months. Now, when I went there, you could stay 3 months. So what I'm looking at is give and take. I'm looking at how much value would it be for this channel if I was able to. I've got the money in the bank. I've got the money in the bank to do all this. What would it be for this channel if I went there for 2 weeks, and knowing what I know with my video, shot video for 2 weeks? What would it be like if I went there for 3 months and just gathered all this content? I had 3 months of video and content story, that come back to, and I go back to driving. So the bottom line is I'm really entertaining the possibility of going there very soon. There's a Tokyo Olympics right now going on. You probably know that.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
Tokyo Olympics sailing part is right where I was staying with Saudi. My Kyoto, Saudi. A lot of my friends are hosting Olympic athletes right now. I could literally fly in there and be right where the Olympics is happening, the sailing stuff, with my Japanese friends and filming all that. How much value would that be versus driving the truck for the next month? So
Hmm.
that's what I'm going through, is being a no limit thinker and thinking in terms of, no, it's time to get some new real Japan stories, not the stuff from 2 years ago. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm really looking at that right now.
Perfect. And yeah, I think it's awesome that you're thinking about your next trip. And even with the whole COVID and restrictions and all that stuff, people might think, "Oh, there's no way I could leave the country." And it's interesting and good to put that together. Hey, what's the process for going to Japan? How do you find your places to stay if you're a new person? What's the process? So I think that would be really awesome when that comes back into play, when you actually are able to get out there, or when you figure everything out, and when it makes sense to go out there. So that's going to be a huge part of the channel. And yeah, that will be really exciting because you could even compare things. You could do like, hey, here's a video I shot years ago with my friends in Japan, and here we all are together today in 2021 or 20 whatever year it is that you.
Well, the other thing
um
is the whole Airbnb side, Mike, we haven't touched on. I've stayed at 50 different Airbnbs. I pay between $21 a day, really nice places, to at most $50 a day. And so I have a whole process. If you're thinking about going to Japan, don't stay at expensive hotels. I have a whole process, we should probably even do you can do screen share and stuff. I can walk you through how to pick out an Airbnb and where they're located, and walk you through a whole process that you can stay at Airbnbs. And what happens is you end up getting an English speaker concierge that takes good care of you. They end up getting a friend in the process versus a hotel room. Hotel room is going to cost you like $150 a night. All you have is a bed and a bathroom, you know. And I've kind of mastered the whole Airbnb. The second part is the JR passes, the trains. I've mastered how to take the subways and the trains. The trains are totally awesome. They go 168 miles an hour. You have no security. You just jump on the train, go anywhere in Japan. The whole driving to Tokyo part of my system that we haven't really even touched upon, that we can get more in detail in another Zoom or something, is something I can help you with, regardless of whether you drive a truck. You may have a regular job, or you may be in between jobs, and you decide Japan is all. I talk to a lot of people that say, I've always thought about going to Japan. Isn't it expensive? And I always have to tell them, yes, it can be expensive, but I've figured out a way that you can go. I do my whole trip, Airbnb, JR Pass, spending money, airfare, all of it for about $3,000, everything for a month. And 3,000 may sound like a lot when you were like in the space I was, 12 years ago with no money. But 3,000, if you add it up, it's actually a pretty cool vacation for a month. Now, you don't even have to go for a whole month. You could probably do 2 weeks for a lot less than that. But the point is, I have a whole system, regardless of whether you drive a truck or not, with Japan, with Airbnb, Train Pass, and everything that I can coach you on.
I love that part. And yeah, I definitely think we should open that up, or maybe like you know since you're thinking about the next time you can get back to Japan, um maybe like next Zoom, or like you said, in a future Zoom, we could do that. Like, share the screen. You can be on your laptop and you can just go on, like, hey, this is how I go on a website. This is how I do this. And we can kind of do like a pre-run of what to expect when planning that trip, or just showing your key points to planning that trip.
In fact, Mike, sorry for jumping in. I don't like to talk over you because
You're
you're
good.
awesome. But here's the idea: is you could sign up if you aren't on Airbnb yourself. Sign up, and then if you screen share, instead of using me, you like play a brand new person, which you would be. And then we go to your site and I walk you through literally where you type in Tokyo and then all the listings in Tokyo. Then I walk you through what ones to pick out and what to look for. For example, I'll give you just a couple quick 30-second things. I look at the reviews, I look at the pictures, I look at the cleaning deposit, I look at all the different factors, the location, the cost, everything, the cancellation policy. So I could walk you through all of that for the subscribers that are watching, they can live through you, and I can actually walk you through the
Oh, I like it.
process of picking out an Airbnb. instead of me doing it, you're actually a brand new person. So that subscriber could actually they could follow along. They could literally be on the computer and sign into Airbnb and walk through the whole same process you're going through. And they learn, because that's all I did. I taught myself how to do all this stuff. No one taught it. No one taught me. But I have a lot of valuable experience with how to pick up. Airbnb is just completely, with Japan, has completely transformed my life. I have more friends in Japan than I do here in the US because of Airbnb.
Yeah, it's a
And
great
so I'd
way.
like to,
It's a great way to just put yourself right in the middle of the culture too. And I'm sure you learned a lot more by, you know, injecting yourself right in the middle of the culture than you would at any hotel room or, lobby or, whatever at a hotel. So I think
you're
that's
not a tourist. You're not a tourist. You're living like a local. And so when I go there, like with Saudi, I guess I use her as an example. She's awesome. I'll have to feature her. Maybe I've been trying to have her come on a Zoom. She speaks perfect English. She's just totally awesome. When I stay at her place, I pay $35 a day. It includes a breakfast. She cooks me breakfast. And then when we're done with breakfast, she's like, what do you want to do today? Let's go to Kamakura. She takes me to Kamakura. We go around, we pal each other, and we do meetup groups. We've gone out dinner and drinking beer. The whole time I'm there, I'm with her as a local, as a friend for like 4 or 5 days a week, 2 weeks at a time. It's completely different than going to a hotel room and being completely alone.
yeah, it must, give you a nice sense of security too. Like, hey, this person's going to take care of me. Some people might be worried about, oh, I'm in a different country, or oh, this, well, try to be worried about this or that. If you're with a local person, you're pretty much going to be good to go. So that's really nice that you have that connection, and you meet new friends that you become lifelong friends with. So I think we should definitely have anyone that you want to have from Japan come on to a Zoom. I know you mentioned your friend Freddie. Maybe when you call him back after the Zoom, you can see if he wants to come on to our next meeting or one after, or whenever he's available. Maybe we can get him on and we can talk. Or if you want to do a call with him, totally your
No,
call.
I'd like you, Mike, I'd like you to be a part. That something else just happened. I have a buddy of mine named Chris who lives in Spain in the Mediterranean. He's one of my ex-Empower friends. And just to tie in with Encinitas, Chris speaks, he's from France. He speaks fluent French, but he speaks fluent English too. He's living the dream in on the Mediterranean in Spain. He was in Power Network with me. And to give you an example of the tie-in, he came to the United States. He loves traveling, and he said, I'm in LA. And I told him, hey, dude, you're right by Encinitas. Let's meet up in Encinitas. I jumped in my car, drove to Encinitas. We stayed in Encinitas together. I showed him all over Encinitas. We came back with my car to my house, and he rented a room here in my house for 3 weeks before he went back to Europe. So I sent him a link with our channel, and he's a real fun guy. And I'm going to invite him on a Zoom too, because he could talk about Europe. He could talk about Spain. He knows Europe very, very well. And he would be a cool guy on the channel, because he's also into, he makes his money online and stuff. And he's really a free spirit. He's an entrepreneurial type of person. And I'm going to get reconnected with him and have him on a Zoom as well.
Perfect. I love it. I think it's a good spot to close up our call, and definitely more things to look forward to if you're watching this video on YouTube right now and it was just posted. Stay tuned for the Encinitas videos coming up, and definitely subscribe, like, share this with anyone you think might get value from it. Also, drivingtotokyo.com. You can go there as well, and you can connect with Doug on Facebook, YouTube. We've got a podcast that we're working on that will be available soon, and you can also see other videos and connect with Doug on that website as well. Doug, did you want to have any closing words before I'll end the
I
recording, and
think
then we can kind of just chat for a minute before
y-
we close out?
yeah, I think we've gone a little long, but hopefully if you've tagged along for this whole Zoom call, I hope you got some value from it. And just if you, on any of the videos, I want to point out videos of the Zoom. Remember, obviously, you can just tune in. You might only have 10 minutes to watch 10 minutes. You might be at lunch break at work. You have 20 minutes. Watch the 20 minutes and go back and continue where you left off when you get off work. Don't ever feel like some of my videos, to be honest with you, can be a little long and you can't watch all of it. Just watch some of it and come back and watch it later. You don't have to do everything all at once. So come back and I hope that I hope you've enjoyed this Zoom, and I appreciate you being here wherever you are, whomever you are. And you know, we look forward to seeing you on another Zoom, and do check out the other videos. And it's been a pleasure to connect with you. And like and subscribe, and we'll see you on one of the next Zooms. We do this every week, by the way. We do this every weekend. We do a recap every weekend.
Right on. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to end the recording, and we'll see everyone on the next one.